The title of this message is You Have to Prepare. Proverbs 24, verse 27 says, Put first things first. Prepare your work outside and get it ready for yourself in the field, and afterward build your house and establish a home. And what motivated me towards this message before even reading this verse was the realization. I was watching this video on Hardly Initiated, and there was a pastor on there, and the discussion basically was about relationships and the difference between being a lukewarm Christian and really being grounded in God. And as the conversation about relationships came up, I started to reflect on my life. And what I realized is the very real need to prepare, but also what I realized is there is a very strong possibility, beyond a possibility, everything that we experience in our lives is preparing us for something. So I used to have so much pain and so much agony at the loss of relationships. All my life, ever since I was a little girl and I played with my Barbie dolls, and I was really entrenched in, the soap operas, and, watching the couples and the married couples and the love relationships, and or a Lifetime movie. I Outside of that, even, I desired a husband. I desired to be a wife. But what became painfully clear to me and obvious a few years ago was how much I was never really prepared to be a wife, how little I really knew about being a wife. I wanted it. I wanted a husband, but it became clear to me I never really knew how to be a wife, not a proper wife, not the type of wife that God calls us to be. So, therefore, the marriage likely would not have been the type of marriage that God calls for us to have. And so, Proverbs 24:27 says, Put first things first. Prepare your work outside and get it ready for yourself in the field, and afterward build your house and establish a home. There's so much in that word. Put first things first. There's a saying not to put the cart before the horse. Many of us are putting the cart before the horse. Many of us are too focused on the end result, or too focused on the thing that we want, that we're not focused on the process to get that thing. We're not focused on the preparation to get that thing. We're not focused on realizing and understanding and comprehending what lessons we are learning, what things are shaping us to actually be qualified for that thing. And in this moment, I feel a sense of peace. I got to a point recently where I decided, you know what, God, if it is not in the cards for me, if it is not your will for me to be a wife, if it is not your will for me to have a husband, just God, make my heart at peace with it. Just God, take it off my heart. Take the desire from me. If that's not your plan for me, just take it away. And very recently, I finally got to the point of saying, you know what? A man is the furthest thing on my mind. A husband is the furthest thing on my mind. A relationship is the furthest thing on my mind. And the reality hit me recently. It is not in vain. I never believed it was in vain, but then I lost hope at a point of brokenness and many letdowns and disappointments. What a blessing to get to a point of remembering and get to a point of knowing that it is not in vain, that preparation is taking place, that we are being prepared, that we are being prepped. And what I can honestly say about my experience, I I would joke with my ex and I would tell him, if I could take everything that I love about you and my other exes and put it together, I would have the perfect man. And I know it's not about having the perfect man, but what I know is there is growth in that statement in the sense of knowing, okay, I've gotten to the point of knowing what I want. I've gotten to the point of knowing what I don't want. I've gotten to the point of knowing what I need. I've gotten to the point of knowing what I don't need. I've gotten to the point of understanding what is necessary. What are the necessary qualities of my husband? What are the necessary traits of my husband? What are the necessary characteristics of my husband, and vice versa? More and more I am understanding what are the necessary qualities of a wife that suits that husband. What are the necessary traits of a wife that suits that husband? What are the necessary characteristics, traits, qualities of a woman who suits that type of husband? Proverbs 24:27. Put first things first. Prepare your work outside and get it ready for yourself in the field. And afterward, build your house and establish a home. Now, I'll say this until the cows come home. I'll say this until my face is blue. I would recommend anyone to wait, to abstain until marriage. But for those of us who had to make those mistakes, those of us who had to make those hard choices, those of us who had to experience those hard lessons, know that it is not in vain. Know that you are out in the field. Know that you are gaining knowledge, you are gaining wisdom. You have to learn these lessons. You have to master these things that you are weak in. You have to understand yourself better. You have to understand your creator better. You have to understand if, in fact, marriage is what you desire. You have to understand what are these lessons that I have experienced trying to teach me? What are these lessons that I have experienced trying to show me? What are these lessons that I have experienced trying to help me to evolve to? That is the key. The key is to get to the place where we put first things first. The key is to understand that it is not in vain. The key is to understand that we are preparing. You have to prepare. Do not let your heart get so troubled that you forget that there is always a blessing and a lesson learned. Do not let your heart get so weary that you forget that God is so great that He could take what was meant for your destruction and turn it around for His glory. We have to prepare. A lot of us are in preparation season. A lot of us are being prepped and prepared for what we have been praying for. Do not grow weary. The word says that we have to put first things first. If we're honest, some of us are still not putting first things first. Some of us are trying to try before we buy. Some of us are stuck in this dating culture. Some of us are stuck in the mind frame of thought, the wrong mind frame. Some of us are stuck in the incorrect heart posture. Put first things first. Prepare your work outside and get it ready for yourself in the field. And afterward, build your house and establish a home. See, there is a difference between a house and a home. A house is a foundation. A home is full of all of those necessary things for nourishment, for growth, for enrichment, for fruitful multiplication in all areas of your life. And me personally, I thank God because I finally see. I finally see. I always believed that it wasn't in vain. I grew weary, and now it's back full circle of understanding this is preparation. Because wouldn't it be a terrible thing to pray for a thing and then to come face to face with that thing and you are not prepared? Wouldn't it be a terrible thing to pray for a thing, to receive that thing and you mishandle it? Wouldn't it be a terrible thing to pray for a thing and once it arrives you do not recognize it? We have to prepare. We have to prepare so that we can cherish that thing. We have to prepare so that we can recognize that thing. We have to prepare so that we can properly handle and assess that thing. We have to prepare. So let's get to work.